This podcast is part of the StartCast network, bringing you Europe's most promising startups. For more information, go to startcast.eu.
Hi, and welcome to StartCast. This week I'll be talking to the founder of Kedzoh. Kedzoh is an innovative solution that lets companies send short training videos for their teams. This simple concept has endless uses and has been used by dentists, universities, and enterprise training companies. Let's go to my interview with Patrick. Alright, I'm talking to Patrick, who's the founder of Kedzoh, the world's leading mobile learning solution. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your startup?
Hi Asaf, it's a pleasure to meet you. Kedzoh was founded as a mobile learning platform for the enterprise market. What we do is we provide a solution for companies as well as universities that permits them to create and send out very easily short little mini lessons to employees or students, lessons that students and employees can take on their mobile phone whenever they have 3 to 5 minutes. Because we're now living in a Angry Birds world, and nobody has the time to sit and take a very long lesson, whether it's online or whether it's in a classroom time. But everybody has a few minutes during their day to play a little game. So I think it's very appropriate that we can now be able to both create little lessons as well as take small lessons where we have a few minutes.
So could you talk a little bit about how many people are you and what is everybody doing?
Yeah, we're a team of 8 people, and we're truly an international company. I guess we've got 2 people working in Portugal that are Portuguese, one of which I met when I was in Santiago. We've got 2 people in Santiago, developers that are actually Russians. I have a British guy in Santiago who's on the business side, who speaks great Spanish. I've got a Chilean in Santiago, surprise, who's a salesperson, and I've got another person in the U.S. who's kind of a support person that we use for a variety of things, and then myself. But I think, perhaps a little bit to backtrack a little bit more. The way Kedzoh started, it was born internationally. I was born in Paris, but I grew up in New York City. I then moved to Miami a number of years ago, and by just fortune or having made our own luck, I was able to be accepted to the Startup Chile program in 2011 when it was just starting. So we got our original seed capital to start Kedzoh in Chile. And although the Startup Chile program is just a 6-month program, I moved there for 6 months. Things developed well, and I decided to stay there. And I've actually been living in Santiago, Chile now for 2 years.
That's interesting. That's definitely. How do you sort of have this Google Hangout, or how do you have team meetings?
We've tried every piece of technology that exists. We keep coming back to Skype because it's the one that we're all familiar with, despite the fact that it doesn't always work as well as we'd like. Failing that, I still resort to old-fashioned telephone calls for the best quality. But I have to take my hat off to the team. The team's always been very responsive as far as being able to participate in conference calls and being very reactive. I mean, although it's a young team, it's not a team that needs to be told, what to do every day. It's a mature team, and all the members of the team are, really quite dedicated to making Kedzoh a success.
It's funny to think that the old infrastructure is the most reliable.
Well, yeah, it really is. Phone quality has only gone down over the years. We've gotten used to really bad quality and having calls that disconnect, but you can't beat the price of a Skype phone call. So for the price, you get what you get, pay for.
Yeah, that's true. Could you talk a little bit about the lessons themselves? So how would a teacher record lessons? Is it just a video? Are there some extra instruments to display or to have some diagrams or things like that?
That's the really cool thing is that the existing solutions are really complicated. I mean, you got to spend at least 6 months to reading a manual and playing with it before you're able to actually do anything with them. What Kedzoh is based on one very simple premise, one button called the next button. So the application will literally step you through the steps that you need to take to create a lesson. And you can use your phone or a tablet to create a lesson. You can also use your PC, but it's mostly geared towards being a mobile solution. So you would open it up with the application, you click on create a lesson, you then are stepped through adding content. So you can add video, you can add text, you can add picture, you can add a drawing, you can add audio, and you can also add quizzes. So you can have multiple choice, true and false, a 1 to 5 survey question, and a little mini essay. My favorite feature is when you reach the end of the lesson, you then select who you want to send it to. So you could say send it to all the students that are taking my class in Berlin, send it to all my salespeople throughout Europe, send it to all my engineers in Southern Europe. So you can establish all these different groups that you can then send lessons and content to whenever you have some time.
And in your experience, what are the positions that your clients have? So is it we're talking about a CTO that implements this app in his company, or how does it look like normally?
It varies from client to client. Sometimes it's strictly the business people that find us or that we contact and that get involved. Sometimes the technology people will get involved to have a look to make sure that it's compatible with the systems that the company uses. So it varies. There's no pattern. It just depends.
And I'm quite curious, could you talk a little bit about like some of the most interesting experiences that you had, some sort of really, really interesting clients?
Well, I have to say the very most interesting client is our very first client, a company out of Dublin, Ireland called 210 Health. Just fabulous. And they actually, the reason they're our first client is they read about Kedzoh in an article that appeared in The Economist. And this was an article that was talking about the Chilean ecosystem and entrepreneurial environment. And there were two companies mentioned in that article, another one in ourselves. And it said, Kedzoh, and a little description about the fact that we're doing mobile learning. And because they read the article, they called us up.
As easy as that.
Right? I mean, literally out of the blue. I mean, it was just like, hi, what? And the gentleman who's there, his name is John. He's been fabulous. Big supporter of ours. He actually came down to Santiago and met with us because they do business in Chile with one of the dental universities there. And we're now doing quite a number of different projects with them throughout the world. So, I mean, it's just very fortuitous that somebody would actually be reading The Economist when that article came out and actually decide to pick up the phone. But we got quite a few leads from that article. It was really quite good for us. So it's quite interesting.
So they're using the app to train dentists? How does it work?
Yeah, they provide software to dental schools. So they're using it in one of two ways. One is to train people in using their software, right? Instead of doing any kind of online training, because it's much easier for them to reach their quote unquote the students, which are clinicians. So they reach the clinicians through their mobile phone, and that's made it a lot easier for them to provide software training to them. And likewise, they're starting to experiment with delivering content, literally dental school type content, how to fix a cavity or do a root canal, to actual students.
And if we're talking specifically about that, are there some sort of licensing issues that might come up, or how do they do that in terms of licensing?
Well, companies license the software from us, and we provide them with an entire platform. And the platform is a combination of both device-specific solutions that work for Android and iPhone, that work for smartphones and tablets, and a web-based platform that provides two things. One, the ability to create lessons online also, as well as an administrative suite that lets you manage the number of users you have, user permissions, and also lets you view reports about the performance of the students. So you can see reports that show, how well somebody did or how well an entire group did taking a particular class that you sent to them.
And this usually is something that is customizable per client, or is it such like a product?
I think we've done a good job of providing something that's clean and easy. We can certainly, we're always available to tweak it if a client makes a suggestion. But it's not like an SAP type product where, the whole purpose of it is to customize it 1,000%. This is all about keeping things really simple and easy. And I think we've made it very, very simple and easy to use, and that's exactly what our clients like. They don't want to add more buttons. They'd like it just the way it is.
Okay, so it seems that we're almost talking about what my next question is about, and I'm not sure if it's the same topic. Would that be the main sort of source of income for the startup? So is it a subscription-based kind of thing where you give the platform as a service?
Yeah. It's only a platform as a service. That's a combination of an upfront installation fee as well as monthly recurring fees per user.
Could you talk a little bit about some difficulties that you had to overcome with the development process?
If you talk to a technology company, there's no little difficulties that you overcome when you're developing a technology product. It's
some of the biggest, let's say.
It's everything is specific. You're starting something new, and this is not a Me Too product. This is a brand new product. So the issues are really everything that could come up with building something that's new. Things that you thought worked on paper that end up not quite working as well as you'd like when you actually do the mock-up on a phone to start using it, to technical issues that come up with the way the architecture was established at the beginning, and then you find that you then need to change because it slows things down, so you need to make a change, and that creates a whole series of events that need to be dealt with. And then, like any technology company, finding the right people to work on the application and the platform, and getting the right people to be part of the team. So I think we've been, we've had our ups and downs. That's pretty normal, but I'm quite satisfied with the position that we're in as we enter as we go into the new year.
Could you talk a little bit about your experience in the startup world? Is this your first venture? And if not, what were the last ones?
I've been around the block a few times. I started my career as a banker. I was a banker for about 15 or so years. Then was a chief financial officer and chief operating officer for a number of public and private companies. I guess the last third of my career has been really involved in early stage companies. So I've worked literally across the balance sheet. I've done senior level loans, I've done leverage buyouts, done public issues, and now I find myself in what I think is certainly the most challenging and the most rewarding, professionally and personally, the most rewarding aspect, which is creating new companies. And I guess this is, depending upon how you count, I guess this is like my third or fourth startup, and I've been involved in dozens of startups as an advisor, board member, over the years.
I think it's definitely, especially if you're talking about not only new businesses, but new startups, tech startups, it's also you get the benefit of being in the bleeding edge of technology.
Yeah, I don't know if bleeding is always the best thing. I don't know if we're really bleeding edge. We're definitely leading edge, that's for sure. Simply because we're catching a wave that's really been building for quite some time, which is mobile learning. People are starting to recognize that there's an opportunity there, it's something that we saw, or that I saw very early on, and I think it can only grow. I mean, we live in a mobile world. If there's one device that everybody in the world, or most people in the world, have in their pocket, that is a telephone, and that telephone is becoming the device that we use to do absolutely everything. It's our communications device, it's our music device, it's our phone, it's our play device, it's our learning device. So it's what everybody has, and therefore I think we're going to see more and more applications move to a mobile environment.
Definitely, that's even if you don't want it, like it's inevitable.
Even if you don't want it.
You mentioned earlier that you have quite an international background. I would like to use this opportunity and have you talk a little bit about each of the scenes, the tech scenes that you have witnessed in each of the cities that you've lived in.
Well, I'll tell you, I feel like I've been watching this incredible worldwide carpet of flowers blossom. Back in December, yes, it would have been December of 2010. I spent Christmas with family in Paris, both a holiday as well as a working holiday, and I met a lot of people there. I was looking to put together a venture capital fund at the time, and the London market was pretty well established. Paris was just starting. I mean, there was no co-work space. There were hardly any meetups. Just people you met didn't really understand the whole concept of startups. In that short period of time, we're just looking at, 3 years of time, I've seen Paris really built up. I've seen Berlin come into its own. A place I never expected to see something from. We've seen, a venture accelerator in just outside of Venice in Italy. We're seeing accelerated programs throughout the world, and I think this is a wonderful time to be a creator, right? Somebody who makes new things, and I think we've gone too much away from that. We've gotten too much involved in service economies, but I think as human beings we like to make things, right? We've always made things, whether it's making tools or doing drawings on the inside of caves, where we're naturally, I think, wired to make things, and that capability is now being completely drawn out of the workforce and out of the universities, and people saying, "Hey, I want to make something." And now they have the beginnings of the resources they need to make it a lot easier to start making things.
So how do you see this sort of trend going in the next couple of years?
This is not a couple of years trend. This is a change in the way that I think economic development is being done worldwide. Most governments have placed their bets and place their energies on supporting large companies because large companies, have big impact, or so it seems. But the ones that really create the jobs and that create the new industries are the small companies that grow into medium-sized companies that are then oftentimes purchased by large companies. Right? And if you're going to build an economy, you're going to build if you want large numbers of, large workforce, you want good economic numbers, you need entrepreneurs. And I think the entire development community, economic development community, is realizing that, we need to help more entrepreneurs because that's the way we're going to create jobs. That's the way we're going to be able to increase, government revenues. That's the way we're going to be able to have economic progress.
I think one of the biggest things that I've seen happen in the last 3 years is the rise of the incubators. They basically made it very, very easy for people to stop stressing about the immediate money and have turned all startups that I've looked on very international, because basically startups move from city to city in different countries in search for those incubators.
Right, right. The incubator, I guess, industry is just starting to blossom. I think that the funding is sometimes it's a little bit light. I see it's very hard to do things just for like $25,000. I think you can start doing an awful lot when you start getting to north of $40,000. It also depends where you happen to live. I mean, if you're living in New York City, you're going to need a lot more because it's just really expensive to live there. If you live in Paris or London, it's also expensive. But you don't, you can now do things. You can do so much on a remote basis, right? I mean, I looked at Estonia has an interesting program, and I actually looked at that because I said, I could live in Estonia, and I could take a Ryanair to Paris for like €50, and just do that as a day trip, right? So I wouldn't necessarily need to have a Paris, overhead, but I could still end up doing business throughout Europe with a good location and with access to inexpensive airfares.
Yeah, of course, that's some interesting commute.
Right. Well, it's just but it's doable, right? You can do that today. You can do that 20 years ago.
Yeah, of course.
So I think we live in a great, great, great time for entrepreneurship. The incubators really are playing a very good role. I hope that they're able to come up with more funding, because that's really the lifeblood of any entrepreneur. Is that it's not so much that the idea is perhaps a bad idea, but that ideas sometimes need more time to be developed.
Yeah, no, definitely. This is the main thing that I really like, that incubators are not, in my opinion, or at least in my experience, they're not as stressful as venture capital, where you have to be a lot more prepared to get the funding, basically.
Yeah, it's that's part of the ecosystem, right? It's a good way to get started. You've got access to a lot of advisors, a lot of talent. You can ask a lot of, a good incubator will have, people in HR and technology and product design and just design and public relations. In all the things that you need to run a business, and you can easily just go around and have a few conversations with people and start learning about what you need. So it's a very, very good, it's a good school, if you wish. It's a good place to learn.
Let's go back a little bit to Kedzoh. Could you talk a little bit about what you're working on right now?
Well, right now we've just been accepted to Startup Brazil, and we're extremely excited about that. We were one of only 9 companies, international companies, selected to be part of the the second round that Startup Brazil is doing. So we're in the process of finding an accelerator in Brazil that we can work with, because we really want to enter the Brazilian market. I think it's a market. I mean, it's a huge market. It's huge, great opportunities. So for us to get into the program comes at a really wonderful time. We've got a finished product. We have some early customers. We've got a good system that's in place, and I'm really looking forward to going down to Brazil now and moving to Brazil to expand Kedzoh into that market.
So how does it work? What did you get, if I may ask?
Oh, the way that the Startup Brazil program works is that the government makes available to you up to roughly the equivalent of $100,000, 200,000 reals, that you can spend on salaries. Right? So I can move there, my developers can move there, I can hire people, and I can use that money to pay for the individuals. And that money is tax-free to those individuals. So that's really quite a nice thing.
Oh, that's good.
That's definitely very good. In addition to that, some of the accelerators might give you a little bit of additional funds, perhaps up to 25,000. Some maybe more. And what the accelerators do is they provide the services that good accelerator does. Is they have that pool of advisors that you can tap into, and they can help you develop the business much further. And in return for helping you, they take a certain percentage equity position in the company.
And so what you got from the Brazilian government, is that basically like a government grant, or is there some equity involved?
It's interesting how you phrase that. It is a government grant. So legally, it's a government grant, which is why they're able to provide it to you for tax-free. But you have to do it through an accelerator. The accelerators a certain equity contribution, so they take a percentage of the company, and that's negotiated.
Okay, so the accelerator have some sort of percentage that they take. It's a bit more restrictive than the Chilean government grant, I suppose.
Yeah, the Chilean government grant is a $40,000 tax-free grant to use for the business. Mm-hmm. And so there's another program in Brazil called Seed Brazil, and Seed Brazil is a $35,000 equity-free grant.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm basically finished with my questions. I was wondering if you have anything that you wanted to add, and of course, how can our listeners reach you?
Well, certainly I'd say to anybody who's thinking of starting a business, just do it. Don't wait, just do it. Take that first step. Don't worry about falling and breaking your nose. You'll just get up and you'll learn from that. The best thing you can do is to move forward. The worst thing you can do is just to continue to think about it and not take any action. I think you're doing yourself a great disservice, and you're doing a great disservice to the world. If you have something in your stomach that's telling you, I want to do something, do it. It's a contribution, and I think we all have it. It's part of our, existence to contribute something to this planet. If people want to reach me, they can reach me directly through our website at kedzoh.com, KEDZOH.com. My email is patrick@kedzoh.com, and you can also find out a lot more about me at my private blog, which is boilingice.com. So, but it's pretty easy to find me. This is not you put Patrick Kedziora in Google, and I come right up.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you for listening to Startcast. We are currently gathering interviews from the most innovative and inspiring startups around the world. If you have a startup, or you know someone who has his own startup, feel free to contact us at contact@startcast.eu, and you can contact me at Asaf, that's ASAF, at startcast.eu.